I know why you came to this channel. You really want to see me go on a long and completely unnecessary rant about XP tables. Today, we're going to be reviewing the basic Game Master screen for Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the advanced Game Master screen for Pathfinder 2nd Edition on this episode of the Local Disaster Tour Guide. Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Mark and I am the Local Disaster Tour Guide. That's right, I'm a storyteller who is way too excited about the prospect of easy access to trap statistics. Welcome to my channel where we talk about role-playing games like Pathfinder and Starfinder. Before we get started today, I just want to say really quick, I apologize for the change in setup and scenery. My wife and I recently had to do some major repairs to our house and everything is a little bit of a mess right now. We are getting everything cleaned up, the repairs went well, but it's probably going to be a couple of weeks before we're back to our regular shooting location. So please forgive that change and the temporary inconveniences that come with it. Today we're going to be doing another The Local Disaster Tour Guide Reviews video, and this video is going to be different from some of my other review videos in several important ways. First off, instead of talking about a role-playing book today, we're actually going to be talking about some role-playing support products, specifically support products that are aimed towards storytellers, and that is the Game Master screen. We're going to be looking at both the basic Game Master screen for Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the advanced Game Master screen for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The basic Game Master screen references rules from the Pathfinder 2nd Edition core rulebook, and the advanced Game Master screen references rules from both the core rulebook and the Game Mastery Guide for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, you will notice that the products I have today are landscape versions of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Game Master screen. All of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Game Master screens are 4-panel GM screens, but Paizo actually offers two versions of both of these products. They offer the landscape version of both the basic and the advanced Game Master screen, and they also have a portrait layout for the basic and advanced Game Master screen. Now, the portrait layouts for these two products are considered to be special edition, so that means that they are a little bit harder to get a hold of. As of the recording of this video, the portrait version of the advanced Game Master screen is still available on Paizo's website, but if you're looking for the portrait layout of the basic Game Master screen, you're probably going to have to find that somewhere else, probably like Amazon or something. I can't find it on Paizo's website at least. Now, me personally, I prefer the landscape layout. The lower profile makes it easier for me to see my gaming table, and because the panels are wider, it gives me a little bit more room behind the Game Master screen. But the information included on the basic Game Master screen is going to be the same between portrait and landscape, and the information included on the advanced Game Master screen also going to be the same. You're not getting any difference in information, you're just getting a difference in the dimensions of the product that you are using. Now, another difference between this review and one of my normal reviews is we're actually going to be able to look at these products in detail. I'm going to be able to show you all of the panels on both of these Game Master screens and really talk about what the specific differences between these two screens are. That being said, I still want to remind you of my normal grain of salt when I do a review video, which is these videos are entirely my opinion. I'm going to do my best to give you my sincere thoughts about these products and my insights into how these products might be useful to different storytellers. But please understand that hands-on experience is always better than just watching a YouTube review. So I still encourage you, if you can try these products out, borrow them from a friend or something like that before you make a purchase decision, that is always the best way to obtain information. The final difference between this video and one of my review videos is I'm doing two products at the same time. Normally, I review one product, one book, and I just kind of leave it at that. However, sometimes you have products that are so similar to one another that really you need to see those products side by side to understand which product is going to be more useful for you and for your gaming table. The Game Master screen is obviously targeted towards storytellers. Players, this video probably isn't going to help you much. But deciding which Game Master screen is going to be more beneficial for storytellers, that can be something of a tricky discussion. So today we're going to be comparing and contrasting these two products, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on which sort of storytellers might prefer the basic Game Master screen and which storytellers may enjoy the advanced Game Master screen more. So with all of that in mind, there is one thing that we're going to keep the same in this review video, which is we're going to begin at the end. I'm going to give you my final thoughts first, then we will work through the review so that you can see how I arrived at those conclusions. Both of these products are very similar to one another. In fact, they are so extremely similar to one another that honestly I have to give both the basic and the advanced Game Master screen the same grade, which is a B+. If you are storytelling Pathfinder 2nd Edition, both of these products are good products, and they are probably products that you will want to use at your gaming table. Now, I do realize there are some storytellers that just don't like having Game Master screens, and if that's you, obviously this product isn't for you. But I imagine for most storytellers, having a Game Master screen is something that you appreciate, and if you are looking for a Game Master screen, really and truthfully, either of these products are probably going to be something that you will enjoy. So let's talk about some generalizations on the strengths and weaknesses of these two products, and you know what, let's switch things up just one more time. Let's start with the weaknesses. This is your ranting alert. These products should not have been a B+. If you follow this channel, you know that the main thing that I consider when I am reviewing any game product is utility. That is the major determining factor for any product that I review in one of these videos. And a Game Master screen is something that is utilized quite often. As a storyteller, I pretty much always have my Game Master screen out. Even if I'm not referencing the tables on the Game Master screen, creating that physical space and having a place to hide my notes and the monster tokens and the different things that I use, Game Master screens are just useful products. Setting up a couple of manila folders to block off that area for yourself as a storyteller is something you're probably going to do. As such, if a Game Master screen is so utilitarian, if it's something that you're going to bust out all the time as a storyteller, how on earth did these products not get an A? Well, let's talk about the number one thing that annoys me on any Game Master screen ever, and to be fair to Paizo, they are not the first company to do this, and they are not the only company to do this by a long stretch. Don't put XP tables on a Game Master screen. I have been storytelling for over 2 decades. I have been gaming and storytelling role-playing games for literally over 20 years. And never once in any game that I have run have I ever used an XP table during a gaming session. I'm serious. It's never come up. And both of the products that we're talking about today, both the basic Game Master screen and the advanced Game Master screen, they have XP tables on the 4th panel of these products. This is not useful. You are wasting space on your Game Master screens. Now, as I've said, Paizo is not the only company that does this. This is a rant that I have had as a storyteller for pretty much 2 decades now. Dungeons & Dragons has done it, Star Wars has done it, multiple games from White Wolf have done it. I have seen this plenty of times. So Paizo is hardly the only offender in this category, but an XP table is never something that you use during a game. The XP table is something that you use either before the game when you're planning the session, or after the game when you are awarding experience to your players during the session. You're never going to stop a game and award XP right in the middle of a session and then continue playing. It just doesn't happen. So XP tables on a Game Master screen, it's really just one of my biggest pet peeves. Paizo, you've done it. I have to knock you for it. But some of you may be asking, am I being unfair to Paizo? If so many other companies have put XP tables on their Game Master screens, should I be so emotional about these Game Master screens? Yes. Yes, I should, because Paizo knows better. You know how I know this? This is the Game Master screen for Starfinder, which is also published by Paizo. And I know I'm not reviewing the Starfinder Game Master screen right now, but let me just show you. On the fourth page, the traditional XP table page on any Game Master screen, you'll notice the Starfinder Game Master screen doesn't have XP tables, it has Starship rules. Fans of the channel, you know I love vehicle rules. They replaced XP tables, which I'm never going to use, with vehicle rules, which I'm definitely going to use. So Paizo, I gotta knock you on this one. Your own products show that you know that XP tables are not an automatic inclusion on a Game Master screen. You've shown me better before, so I'm kind of upset to see it here. Whew. Okay, sorry, I had to get that out of my system. I apologize for the rant. This really is something that bugs me. Setting aside that criticism, overall, the basic and advanced Game Master screens for Pathfinder 2nd Edition are good products. They are something that you're going to use, they have important information that you're going to need, and they're just good references for storytellers. As someone who has told a lot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition games, I can honestly say that there are 3 tables from the core rulebook that are just critical references as a storyteller. If you're going to tell Pathfinder 2nd Edition, there are 3 tables that I would say make up about 80% of the rules that you need to know to invent stuff on the fly. And the thing is, the basic Game Master screen and the advanced Game Master screen both have those 3 tables. Since those are the most important references in the game, and since both of these products include those references, honestly, they're both excellent products. The primary difference between the advanced Game Master screen and the basic Game Master screen is the advanced Game Master screen is going to include some information from subsystems in the Game Mastery Guide. Most notably, it has tables to allow you to randomly generate monsters and randomly generate traps that your players might encounter. In the process of adding those 2 tables, it strips away some of the other references that the basic Game Master screen includes, but really, that's the main difference that you need to look at between these products. And as a result, it really creates a situation where I feel like the basic and advanced Game Master screens are intended for different styles of storytellers. The basic Game Master screen, in my opinion, is geared more towards a heavy planning storyteller. If you are running a pre-published adventure path, or if you're just a storyteller who plans out the majority of your session ahead of time, a lot of people might use the term railroading. I don't want to use that term because a lot of people would see it as derogatory, and I don't intend it that way. If you're a DM who does a lot of planning before the session begins, the basic Game Master screen is probably going to be a lot more useful to you. Think of it this way. If your players are going into a dungeon and that dungeon only has 10 monsters and 2 traps, and you know every single monster and every single trap in that dungeon, you don't need random monster and random trap tables. You're not going to reference those. And so you're more likely to use the extra tables that are found on the basic Game Master screen. Meanwhile, the Advanced Game Master screen, I feel it is more geared towards sandbox-style storytellers. If your game is more of an open world where your players can kind of go wherever and do whatever, and you're more willing to kind of fly by the seat of your pants and just kind of respond to whatever shenanigans they get into, then the Advanced Game Master screen I think is going to be more helpful to you because you're more likely to use those tables for random encounters. So the main difference in the appeal of these two products is, in my opinion, the basic Game Master screen is more for planning heavy storytellers, whereas the Advanced Game Master screen is probably more ideal for a sandbox style storyteller. There is one important caveat I would like to mention in this general conversation, and that is the Advanced Game Master screen references subsystems introduced in the Game Mastery Guide for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. If you are not familiar with those subsystems, you should not use this particular Game Master screen. If you don't have the GMG, or if you're not comfortable with the subsystems referenced from the GMG, this storyteller screen is not going to help you as much. When we look at these products in detail, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but just know that I strongly recommend if you're going to look at the Advanced Game Master screen, I suggest that you have the Game Mastery Guide and be comfortable with the subsystems that are referenced before making this purchase. But other than that particular nuance, these screens are very comparable to one another and similar in their level of utility. Now I'm going to head behind the camera and we're going to take a more detailed look at both of these products. Okay, so let's start with the basic Game Master screen. This is the exterior of the basic Game Master screen. This is what your players will be able to see. And I really like the artwork on both of the Game Master screens. The basic Game Master screen that you see right now was done by Ekaterina Bermak. I hope I got that name correct, and I apologize if I didn't. One of the things I will say in favor of the basic Game Master screen is I really like the artwork on this Game Master screen. The basic Game Master screen, as you can see, has 4 different illustrations that are designed so that they blend and flow into one another, but you have 4 distinct scenes on the exterior of the basic Game Master screen, and I really just love this artwork. It's extremely well done. I'm going to zoom in real quick so you can get a good look at all 4 pictures. Okay, so now we're looking at the interior of the basic Game Mastery screen. Let's zoom in and take a detailed look at the information shown on each panel. So on the first page of the Game Master screen, what you have is basically just a list of conditions. These are different conditions that can affect both players, NPCs, and monsters in the game. So you have things like drained, confused, and petrified. And one of the things that is really positive on the basic Game Master screen is the quality of the artwork is still pretty good on the interior as well. For example, I like the fact that they have this sorceress who has been petrified as one of the art pieces on the interior. I know that art really doesn't affect the quality of a Game Master screen, but it's just a nice touch here. Anyways, the main thing to note is this panel is going to give you information on the different conditions and the rules for the conditions. It also has some icon reminders down in the corner for your 1, 2, 3 action, free action, and reaction icons. This is probably a fairly basic reminder, but it's a nice little chart to have. In the top left corner of the second panel, you'll see some reminder information on turn order and what happens during a creature's turn. You also have a list of basic actions that characters can use and the rules for them. Down at the bottom, you'll see some specialty basic actions, which are still actions available to every character but are a little less common. I find that the specialty basic actions are a very useful set of reminders. In the center column, you'll find rules for death and dying, unconsciousness, and a treat wounds DC and healing table. This column is extremely useful, and this is definitely something you're going to reference a lot. Also, shout out to poor Fumbus, who is definitely using the death and dying rules at the moment. Then on the right-hand column of the second panel, you find rules for terrain, cover, and hero points. Now we come to the third panel, and this is going to be the most important panel on the basic Game Master screen because of these tables right here in the middle. You have simple DCs, DCs by class, and DCs by spell level, and then down at the bottom you have DC adjustments. This column of information is 80% of the stuff that you have to make up off the top of your head as a storyteller in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And by having quick access to these tables, you have the majority of the information that you're going to need to know. The core of this product is definitely these tables. You also have a reference to skill actions, so they take every skill in the game and give you a quick reference on the different actions that fall under those particular skills. And then over on this column you find a specialty skill DC, which is basically just reminders for some less common and more obscure situations where you might need to set a DC. These reminders are pretty helpful in my opinion. Underneath that you have creature identification, which basically just tells you what skill helps you identify which creature. Next up we have the fourth panel, and it's going to start with some pretty important rules, which is detecting creatures. Stealth and detection in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a pretty specific rule set, so it's nice to have these reminders available. Underneath that you're going to have exploration activities, which just gives you some reminders of some of the strategies that characters can employ while they are in exploration mode. In the middle column we have falling damage as a quick reference, as well as information on structures and DCs to force open different types of doors. We also have a travel speed table and a quick reference for environmental damage. The final column is going to be our XP awards table. Boo, this should not be here. Bad Paizo. Okay, moving on. Then we have elite adjustments for creatures and weak adjustments for creatures. These two charts are also extremely useful for storytellers. There have been several occasions where I've wanted to make elite or weak creatures, and I have definitely referenced these tables during the game. So those are the four panels of the basic Game Master screen. That is all of the information that you can expect to find. So now let's take a look at the Advanced Game Master screen and see what is different. Okay, so now we have the Advanced Game Master screen. You've already seen this a little bit because it was behind me earlier in the video, but the artwork on the Advanced Game Master screen was done by the fantastic Wayne Reynolds. Now, I will say that I like Wayne Reynolds' artwork in general, but I don't like the artwork as much here compared to the basic Game Master screen, mostly because the Advanced Game Master screen is just one continuous piece of art. It's one huge scene instead of the 4 individual scenes. So the artwork here is good, but it's just a little less variety, and I am definitely one of those people who likes variety when it comes to artwork, so I'm not as big a fan here, but I will give Wayne Reynolds credit, it's still some pretty good artwork. So now we're looking at the interior of the Advanced Game Master screen. We're going to look at all 4 panels and see what information is included. While I'm not as big a fan of the artwork for the Advanced Game Master screen, one thing that you will see as we go through this Game Master screen is that the information is organized a little bit better. I feel like the layout of this screen is more useful for a storyteller. So that is one of the strengths of the Advanced Game Master screen, at least as it compares to the basic version of the Game Master screen. The first panel of the Advanced Game Master screen is almost identical to the basic Game Master screen. It's conditions. And the conditions on this screen are the exact same conditions as the ones on the basic Game Master screen. The only difference from the advanced version to the basic version is they have removed the action reminder icons, which is one of the most basic pieces of information in the game, so it's probably not anything you're going to miss. The conditions page is definitely a heavily used page, so I am glad that they kept this on the Advanced Game Master screen. This is the second panel of the Advanced Game Master screen, and here we can begin to see a good example of how they improved the organization of the Advanced Game Master screen. A lot of this information is going to look very familiar. The left column has our death and dying rules, unconsciousness, and that familiar treat wounds table. I will say that the treat wounds table is definitely one of those things you will use a lot as a storyteller. This is a good inclusion on both screens. The center column is going to have falling damage, environmental damage, travel speed, structures, and force open DCs. This information was originally on the fourth panel of the basic screen. Moving this to the second panel and making it more front and center for the DM, I think, was a good choice. While you don't use this information often, it is nice to have it quick and easily visible when it does come up in game. The right column is going to give us our terrain rules and our cover rules, and once again we see a reference for creature identification telling us which skills cover which type of creatures. All of this information is something we have seen on the basic Game Master screen, but I do like the tighter organization in this particular instance. Now we move on to one of the biggest changes. This is the third panel on the Advanced Game Master screen, and on the right hand side you will find those important tables that I mentioned earlier. Simple DCs, DCs by level including spell DCs, and DC adjustments. Again, these three tables cover the vast majority of what you will need if you are storytelling Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And notice, because these three tables are found on the third panel and right on the left column, they are almost center to your line of vision as a storyteller. It's a small change, but it's a good one that helps set this product apart. Then we see the biggest change on this table. We have a creature numbers table. The creature numbers allow you to very quickly throw out a random monster that the players might encounter. Do you need a creature at the drop of a hat? This table is for you. And one of the great organizational things that they've done is they have included the elite adjustment and weak adjustments immediately below the creature numbers table. Brilliant job, Paizo. I have to give you credit for that. So, if you need to ad hoc a creature in an instant, this section of the Advanced Game Master screen is extremely, extremely useful. But I do need to throw a quick caveat. The creature numbers table that has been provided uses almost exclusively the quote-unquote high numbers from the creature generation rules in the Game Mastery Guide. Which means that if you use the numbers for, say, a level 3 creature in your game, this table is actually not going to be a well-balanced monster. You would have a monster who has high stats in everything, and therefore would not be appropriate for its challenge rating. In order to use this table well, you have to be able to take the creature numbers and the elite or weak adjustments to really develop an appropriate creature, so you can't just use this table as is. That's one of the reasons I say you really need to be familiar with the subsystems in the actual Game Mastery Guide before purchasing the Advanced Game Master screen. Using this table just as is actually going to create unbalanced monsters. Alright, so now we have the fourth panel of the Advanced Game Master screen. And in the top left corner, we have the XP award tables. Again, boo, Paizo, this doesn't need to be here. Take this stuff out, give me vehicle rules. Trust me, it would be a lot more useful. The other three things that we have on this table are all going to be brand new, and it's going to be information that comes from the Game Mastery Guide. Similar to the last panel, we have hazard numbers. This is basically the information you're going to need to spontaneously throw some traps at your players if they go somewhere that they probably shouldn't be going. Then down at the bottom, we have two other subsystem reminders from the Game Mastery Guide. We have victory points and reputation, which are both subsystems found in the Game Mastery Guide. Now, when looking at these new pieces of information, I've got to say that the utility is going to vary just a little bit. I have been gaming for a couple of decades, and honestly, reputation is one of those subsystems that I haven't used in most of my games. I've experimented with reputation a few times, but I've always found it to be a little too cumbersome and a little too problematic to implement well in a role-playing game. I haven't tried Pathfinder 2nd Edition's reputation system yet, but this small reminder table at least tempts me to try it out for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Don't know if I'm going to yet or not, but the system does seem a little bit easier to use and implement, so I am a little more willing to consider it. One of the subsystems from Pathfinder 2nd Edition's Game Mastery Guide that has gotten a lot of positive feedback is the victory points subsystem. This is analogous to skill challenges or other similar mechanics you may have seen in other games. Essentially, you have scenarios where a single skill check probably is not adequate to determine success or failure, and that is where victory points come in. This is a very flexible subsystem that can apply to a lot of different things. In the Game Mastery Guide, they have variations of the victory point system for things like research, or infiltration, or even chases. So this is definitely a very flexible and useful subsystem from the Game Mastery Guide, and if you ask me, the victory points inclusion and the reminders on the Advanced Game Mastery screen is actually something that I think is going to get a lot of use at my gaming table. This is one of the better inclusions on the Advanced Game Master screen. However, the one I am definitely the most excited about is the hazard numbers. There have been a number of occasions where my players have gone off the expected story, they've gone places they shouldn't go, and traps would be a logical thing to throw at my players, but traps are just hard to improvise. Sure, you have some basic traps that may be listed in a source book, but often those are very generic, and you would prefer to have something that is more appropriate to wherever your players have decided to go. And this table listing hazard numbers by level is extremely useful. Also, unlike the creature table, it's not quite as problematic to have hazards using just the high numbers from the Game Mastery Guide. With creatures, you want a more balanced spread of attributes, but traps are often something that is going to lean more towards the high numbers from that subsystem anyways. You still might need to play around with these numbers a little bit, but these numbers are a lot more useful just kind of straight out of the gate as a storyteller. While hazards and traps are not necessarily something you're going to use all of the time, it is definitely something I have wanted quick access to as a storyteller in the past, so it is definitely a positive inclusion here. Alright, so that is the interior of the Advanced Game Master screen, and like I said, the differences between the basic and the Advanced Game Master screen really are negligible. Either of these products is probably going to be useful for Pathfinder 2nd Edition storytellers out there, and both of these products have the primary tables that you are going to reference. The skill DCs, the DCs by levels, the DC adjustments, and those nice condition pages. That's really the majority of what you need, and everything else is just kind of nice to have anyways. But there are differences between these two products, and it is worthwhile to take some time and really think about which of these two products is going to be more useful for you as a storyteller. Now, a lot of the stuff that was removed from the Advanced Game Master screen to make room for the stuff from the GMG is honestly stuff that you can probably memorize as a storyteller. Things like turn order, basic actions, specialty basic actions, and skill actions, yeah, those are detailed and nuanced, but with a little bit of time as a storyteller, you're going to get those down, and so ultimately their absence from the Advanced Game Master screen is not very difficult. There is one thing that was removed from the basic Game Master screen to the Advanced Game Master screen, however, that I do find a little bit problematic, and that is the rules for detecting creatures. The stealth and detection rules in Pathfinder 2nd Edition are well done, but they are a little bit wonky. It can be hard to remember exactly how those conditions and exactly how those checks work, so removing the detecting creature rules from the Advanced Game Master screen is a little bit painful. Honestly, the Advanced Game Master screen would be perfect for me if they would just cut the XP awards table and give me detecting creatures and some vehicle rules. But at the end of the day, both of these products are going to be strong products and something that I think Game Masters will get a lot of use out of. So, those are my thoughts on the basic Game Master screen and the Advanced Game Master screen for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, let me turn the conversation over to you. What are your thoughts on these two products? Are there any strengths of these products that I forgot to mention? Are there any weaknesses that I failed to point out? Do you think I am way too ranty about XP tables on Game Master screens? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, like it and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more videos that are being scripted and edited, and there's a lot more that is going to be coming out in the future. Thank you for being a part of this conversation, and have a wonderful day.